Hey guys, this is Derek of Blue Collar Chess. In today's episode, I want to discuss raising your ceiling or raising your floor. Okay, so what I mean by that is your chess ceiling is you at your absolute best. You're killing it. Okay, and your chess floor is you at your absolute worst. Okay, as you dropping pieces, blundering pieces, it's you missing combinations. So, what's more important, raising your ceiling or raising your floor? So, if you're capable of outplaying a grandmaster, that's pretty cool. However, if you can only do it for 25 moves and then blunder a bishop or even a couple pawns, because that's all it would take, right? So, what's the point? So what I'm saying is, during the game, any chess game that you play, your floor and your ceiling play a role. You're not going to pick the best move all the time, unless you're using like computer assistance. Okay. So it stands to reason that it's more important to raise your floor as opposed to raising your ceiling. Okay, so let's say you agree with me, and now let's talk about raising your floor. How do you do that? Well, believe it or not, it's by going backwards and really hammering home the fundamentals and working on habits. I want to stress that chess habits is what is keeping you and me from getting to that next level. Case in point, when I play, sometimes say we have 30 minutes for the game. Okay, so 30 plus 30. So every move you get 30 seconds added. So as long as I have a decent amount of time, I play really well. But as soon as I hit that 2 minute mark or 1 minute mark, whatever the case may be, I start to play with lower accuracy. And I've got 30 seconds to add on every time I make a move. So really, I've got plenty of time to make good moves. If I play a 5 minute game, like 5 plus 3 or whatever time control, like around 5 minutes, I do really well up until time trouble typically. So the point is, if I can play a solid game, get about 85 to 90% accuracy in a blitz game, what happens when I'm playing a 30-30 game and I get down to 2 minutes and I start blundering? Okay. So another situation that happens with me that I have to work on and be mindful of is when you're at it like an over the board tournament, and it's that you're trying to make time control, meaning you're trying to hit 40 moves in an hour and a half, and it's a weird change of pace once you hit your 40 moves. A lot of people start making mistakes within that like 38th to like 42nd, 44th move because they haven't transitioned back into you can slow down and you don't, that stress is gone, right? So that's something I have to work on too. I was looking at a game that I played in my last over the board tournament, and around the 40th move, I went from a winning position to a drawn position. I was able to go back to a winning position. And it wasn't even that complicated. It was just me rushing. Okay, so those are habits. They're habits that I have to watch out for. Another way that habits might be holding you back is, say, like when you're doing chess puzzles. Even if they're easy chess puzzles, are you getting the puzzle completely done in your mind, or are you guessing the move and just, oh yeah, that's probably the right move? Because when you play a puzzle, a lot of times it's just some sacrifice, right? But if you can't follow it up, then in a game, you would have lost. So if you're using puzzles like that, it's probably more detrimental than good for you. I'm not saying they won't help you win once in a while, But if you do like this random sack in a game without a really good follow up, you just kind of think it works. That's really not a good way to play chess. You'll probably lose. So what I recommend for raising your floor is sticking with the fundamentals. Basic end games. Make sure you know them like the back of your hand. Okay, I'm talking about the Lucina, the Philidor, the opposition, those type of things. Like, do you need to know all the theory with queen and pawn? It probably wouldn't be terrible for you to kind of get that, especially if you're like an 1900 rated player who sometimes struggles in the end game. Then I would say you need to spend a little more time on those type of endings, rather. Now, let's talk about openings for a few minutes. If you're really good with openings and you have no issues, like say for example, you're on Lichess and you're looking at your game, and you are at move 12, 15, and all the pieces are developed, and you have a pretty good position, then your openings are probably going to be okay. Now, if you were like me, my openings were pretty rough, where I only knew like maybe what the opening was, and that's as far as I knew the opening. So for me, raising my floor was actually pretty easy. All I had to do was work on openings. I had some in-game knowledge. So after I worked on openings, my online rating, I don't get a chance to play over the board that much. My online rating went up, I think it was 100, 150 points, something like that. This was a couple years ago. And it just went up. Now I have to start working on habits. Because again, it's my habits that are holding me back. It's the not following the position all the way through to the end. It doesn't matter if I can calculate, 20 moves deep, if I can't find the moves in the very first part of the calculation. And in fact, I think you'll find probably the first part of the calculation is the hardest for most people to find the right candidate moves. So another thing I've had to personally work on, as far as habits go, is what questions do I ask myself while I'm playing the game? This has changed over time. So typically, I will ask myself, at this point, the major question I ask myself is, what is my opponent's plan? And that does a lot for me. So if I stop and think about their plan, I then am kind of doing a blunder check when I'm doing that. And I'm looking at what they're threatening, and I'm looking at what their best move is, or what I think their best move is, based on my understanding of the position. Okay. Now, do you have to have some positional awareness to be able to do that? Yes. Yes, you do. So what comes first? The knowledge or the fixing of the habits? I believe the knowledge comes first. Okay, you have to have the knowledge there so that you can then recognize the habits, and you don't have to focus on what you know and what you don't know. You have to focus on why you did what you did, and that will raise your ceiling as well. So just to recap, low-hanging fruit would be working on your openings, especially if you don't work on your openings very often. I wouldn't focus on that a ton. I do think you should focus on it, but not make that like your whole thing, because you're not going to win out of the opening that often. And if you're playing those type of openings, anyways, whether they're trappy, they're probably not good long term for you. So then the second thing that you want to do is to work on your habits and to continue to grow your general knowledge of chess. And while you're doing that, your floor is going to decrease and decrease. So if your ceiling is here and your floor is here, it's going to be, you're here and here. Yes, do you need to grow this so that you can be a better chess player? Sure. But I think you'll find that your best game is probably pretty good. And some of the best moves that you make are probably pretty awesome. So you've got to get the other moves to be equal or a little bit closer so you're not making terrible blunders. Okay? So, again, as a chess player, I recommend just really trying to find your weaknesses and to get your get your floor closer to your ceiling. It's been Derek of Blue Collar Chess. Hope you enjoyed this video. Any questions, please leave them in the comments. Myself or maybe one of the other guys here will see it and have an opinion on it. So anyways, stay cordial. Talk to you guys later.